isn't it the most satisfying feeling ever to do multiple crouch dashes in a row and then pressing a Y standing 2 out of crouch dash and it actually connecting? What's up, guys? Momo here again. Today I wanted to talk about yet another topic that is very highly requested actually, since a lot of people, well, at least have heard about the instant voice sending 2, the infamous instant voice sending 2 Devilgen has, but are still pretty unsure on how to use them. So what I want to do today is I want to give you some insight on how to use the instant voice sending 2 and why it's so important outside of your, well, usual mids, I'll say. So like, as you all know, Devilgen has strong heat engagers in 4-4-2, up 4-4, you know, pretty strong mids. And also 4-4-4 and the likes. Oh, I should probably put off content real quick. So these mids together are pretty strong already. But the thing is, Devilgen doesn't really have any mids from standing that launch like Kazuya's, for example. Well, you're not going to be using can-cans really against a character that has a 15-frame punish because it has such a long block stun. Anyone will try to launch it once they block it. And you have CD3 in theory, but it's such a slow mid that anyone who's ducking will get up in time. Well, unless they're very slow. And even if they should get hit by it when they're ducking for too long, this move is still super linear, so it doesn't offer much utility outside of hitting. Well, the thing with instant voice sending 2 is that it offers much more coverage than any other launching mid Devilgen has. And that's why it's so good. So like, let's say, well, you want to hard mix them, you know that they duck a lot, but you want to get more reward out of catching their duck, or maybe even out of a sidewalk of theirs. That's when you want to use voice sending 2. It's more of a, well, means of getting more reward than anything else. Theoretically, you don't need instant voice sending 2, because hitting a 4-4-2 or up 4-4, getting into heat and then using your heat mix-ups can suffice. But when you're outside of heat, for example, or when you don't necessarily want to go into heat immediately from hitting a 4-4-2 at round start where both are at full HP, it can be pretty wise to use or opt for voice sending 2 instead, especially now that the move has a lot of damage potential thanks to the instant voice sending 3 method. Oops, dropped it. Anyway, I have a video on the voice sending 3 tech to make the routes easier. I messed it up right now, but there's a video on how to make it much easier for you. I recommend checking that one out in order to boost your damage from voice sending 2. And that's when it becomes really scary, because getting more than 17 damage out of that launcher is pretty neat. Anyway, how do you do the instant voice sending 2? That's probably what you're asking yourself. Well, the voice sending 2, if you check the input history, well, you do a normal crouch dash. You can also do it out of a wave dash, of course. But the thing here is that you only have a 3-frame window to input back +2. So during this crouch dash, you have a 3-frame window to input back. So there are 3 eligible frames where you can input back. And depending on which of these 3 eligible frames you input to, is the amount of leniency you have to input it and get a voice sending 2. So either have a 3 or 2 or a 1-frame window to input the 2. What it depends on is, well, you have a 1-frame window if you hit back on the earliest frame that's possible, so like frame 6 of the crouch dash. You have 2 frames if you hit back on the 2nd frame. And you have 3 frames of leniency if you hit back on the 3rd frame of the crouch dash. So on frame 8 of the crouch dash. And there was a guide of cooldowns once where he stated that once Devilgen's legs start, well, funkying around a bit, I'll say, is when you should input the back 2. So as a mental, well, tip, I guess. And getting this done consistently will benefit you in the long run a lot. Because not only does the move launch on normal hits, it also tracks to the side where your health sweep doesn't. So it's the perfect mix-up, basically. You can complement your health sweep with voice sending 2, and instead of having to prolong your 4-4-2, you can just go for instant voice sending 2 out of crouch dash. And they will have to just straight up guess should they be respecting your mix-up. Because voice sending 2 is I-15, the health sweep is I-16. it has perfect speed to match each other, and in mix-ups, it's somewhat important that mix-ups have the same speed, so it becomes much harder to deal with them. And well, that's just how you implement the voicing 2 in your game plan, basically. Anytime they try to counter your hell sweep is a time where they're vulnerable to your voicing 2. So like ducking or side walking. That's when you want to hit a voicing 2. I just demonstrated to you how it hits a side walk. Obviously also hits a duck. And outside of that, I don't think you will need the voicing 2, or you won't have to use it a lot. Again, it's more of a means of getting much more reward for a nice read on them ducking or walking. But outside of that, you most likely won't need it much, since double jin mids are somewhat buffed in this game. There's not much more to it except practicing. It's practice, practice, practice. You have to practice it a lot if you want to get it done consistently. But practicing this will definitely net you a neat launch here and there. It's the best feeling ever to do multiple crouch dashes and then hit a voicing 2. So again, if not for the fact that it's a pretty optimal launcher, should you get it down properly, then maybe for the feeling of power, you would like to learn this method of doing voicing 2. Either way, I hope you learned a lot from this very short guide on how to use the instant voicing 2. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Momo out.